analyst is now from the New York Iranian affairs analyst, Camelia Entekhabifard. She joins us now from New York. Thank you very much for joining us here on TRT World. So we've just been listening into the US Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, and Jeremy Hunter talking about Iran's decision to suspend some elements of that deal. So they said we are on the side of democracy, we are actually on the side of Europe, and Iran's actions are threatening, and that Iran has no pathway for nuclear system. What did you make of that statement there?
Sure, I heard the Secretary Pompeo, but I'd like to emphasize the fact that Secretary Pompeo, in an unexpected travel, has been visited Iraq, and in my opinion, it was equivalent to the trip Mr. Zarif made to New York 2 weeks ago. The two countries haven't had a direct relation, no diplomatic relations, and Zarif tried to deliver his messages once he was in the United States. So for Pompeo, it's not this opportunity to go to Iran. And the neighboring countries, Iraq, a friendly neighbor to Iran, has been chosen to deliver his messages to the Iranians. We understand today is the anniversary of the day President Trump has been withdrawn from Iran nuclear deals, and Iran has been waited for a year to today. President Rouhani could say a partial of their commitments would be not delivered, the part which has been selling the enriched uranium, the extra enriched uranium and the heavy water to the other countries. But we don't know exactly if the new sanctions President Trump has been imposed on Iran nuclear program last week has been giving Iran still this opportunity to sell these products or not. Assuming President Rouhani was a bit smart saying about reducing part of the commitment, because this commitment hasn't been excluded to Trump's sanctions. And the second part is giving Iran give the United States and the party 60 days just to can trade its oil and having the financial and banking access. I'm not seeing that the division would be causing an escalation. Yes, it wouldn't be escalation. I tried to just wrap up to say Pompeo's visit in Iraq even delivered this message to us. They are still looking for diplomacy, and Rouhani today, it says clearly they don't want to exit from Iran nuclear deal whatsoever. Even after 60 days, they said they would review if they like to resume another part of those commitments. Once ever everything has been so much obvious on the table, rather than escalation, we could say maybe the European parties would come at these 60 days to find a solution to make another talks with Iran and the United States. President Trump's policy is not about entering to any new confrontation in the region or anywhere else. A good example is Afghanistan. The withdrawal of the troops from Afghanistan and the talks with the Taliban, giving us this message. He wants to reduce the cost of the United States troops in the Middle East. And any new war would be increase those costs, which he is not into it. And we are heading to presidential election in the United States. All those pressures in the bottom line can cause a really diplomatic talks and some results coming out perhaps by the European Union, because any more sanctions on Iranian would be increase the power of the hardliners, and this is what exactly the European wants to avoid. After many years, open up a diplomacy channel with the Iranian, and they don't want to lose this leverage. I'm seeing in the bottom line at that 2 months that would be more intensive talks.
Yeah, from what you're saying, we can gather that the Europeans are caught in between the Trump administration and the Iranians. So how do you see this forming the future relations as to the region?
The future relation between whom?
Well, between the European and the Trump administration and, of course, Iran. As we can see, they're left in the middle.
Yes, the preferences is definitely the United States for the European. This is clear. In the past few months, they would struggle to make a vehicle helping Iranians to do their finance and banking system working out, and also about the oil embargoes. We know the Europeans are not the major importer of Iranian oils. China and Turkey and Japan and South Korea are the major customer of the Iranians. But for the Europeans, the trade with the United States, the economy, and political relations is more important. Your previous guest clearly said that for the UK, definitely its preferences is the United States. They are the major allies, strategic allies for many years. And when it comes to Iran, they don't want Iran make a chaotic situation in the region. They don't want Iran take the revenge because of the sanctions and exceeds the access of the proxy wars through their militia in Iraq, in Syria, and also in Lebanon. And the reason the United States sending Abraham Lincoln Navy to the water of the Persian Gulf and to the Middle East, it's not comes because confronting Iran. It comes to put pressure on Iran allies in the region to understand that Iran cannot increase the pressures on them, or they use them as a tools to attack the U.S. and its allies' interests in the region. We are merging to a very critical point between Iran and the United States. Trump wants to wrap up this issue with Iran over nuclear deal and Iran interferences in the region before heading to 2020. And for the Iranian, as what they understand, they cannot wait for the 2020 because Trump is sincere, clear, and straight about the points. I believe the Europeans would follow him. They may give Iran some other deals, some other opportunities if they would agree to talk to President Trump in a wider issues more than Iran nuclear deal to be addressed also the regional matters.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for that insight, Camelia Entekhabifard.